All right, hey guys, we're going to talk about cardio today. Just sort of the basics of what type of cardio you want to do, when you want to do it, how much of it you want to do it, what should your goals be, what are your training adaptations you're targeting in cardio. So I like to start highest level, simple premise of I look to kind of two different types of cardio. Tend to either stay on the lower end of sort of lower moderate, what some people call zone 2. There's a million names for it, but basically it's a relatively low heart rate cardio. For a lot of people call it steady state. It's a longer duration, usually 25 to 30 minutes, all the way up to 60 plus, maybe even 2 hours. There's a lot of ways to do it, depending on what your fitness level is. You can walk, you can hike, you can ruck, you can bike, you can swim. There's almost infinite ways to do it as long as you're moving at a steady pace for, like I said, at least probably 30 to 60 plus minutes. That makes up for me the bulk of my cardio training. Probably 75 to 80% of my cardio is done in that zone, or that steady state, zone 2. And then the other type of cardio that I tend to do, that remaining sort of maybe 15, 20% of the time, is what some people call zone 5 or VO2 max training, aerobic max capacity, a bunch of different names for this again, but that would be your nearly max effort that you're able to sustain for somewhere between like 2 to 8, maybe 3 to 8 minutes. And you often will train that in a repeating fashion. So I may pedal on the air bike as hard as I can sustain for 4 minutes, and then I might take 4 minutes off, or just really slowly pedaling, let my heart rate come back down, and repeat that 2, 3, 4 times. You want to start slow and build up. Again, a ton of ways you can do that. It could be on the bike, it could be sprinting, it could be some sort of circuit. You could do rowing, you could do kettlebells. Again, a lot of ways to skin that cat. But that is a little bit harder on your body and a little bit more taxing on your system in general, no matter which one of those modalities you pick to do that. And so you want to just be careful to not overdo that. But it is the best way to increase your VO2 max, which is basically your body's ability, how efficient you are at using energy, oxygen, to continue that peak performance. And it's a super correlated longevity marker, meaning the higher your VO2 max, so the overall healthy you are, probably the longer you're going to live. So that's kind of the basic outline. I'll throw it to Mike, see, he's probably got something to add to that.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say that, you phrase it that way, because I kind of look at it as three. There's three. And just the third one I would add on top of that is the anaerobic max capacity, where you're going to the point where you're not even using oxygen to replenish the muscle. You're going past that VO2 max to where, and that's going to be very short, right? Probably 30 seconds to a minute long bursts. And that one, again, is even less frequently I'm doing that than the other two that you just said. I mean, that's probably, it's hard for me to say for sure, but if I had to put a percentage on it, like 5% or less, maybe.
Okay, so just to interrupt you, in the context of a training program, are you doing that? It depends on the program, but are you doing that once a week, like once every 2 weeks, once a month? How infrequent?
So, yeah, as you said, it depends on the program, but for a balanced kind of all around program, I would say once a week is the max I would do it, maybe more like once every 2 weeks. And then if your goal is like hypertrophy or something like that, and you're not focused too hard on your cardio, then it might only be once a month, or you might just not do it for a whole period of time. And I think you're not missing too much if you don't do that. As long as you're getting the other stuff in some capacity, like you said, the zone 2, the steady state, and then the VO2 max, the zone 5. As long as you're getting those in some capacity, some volume, I think you're okay missing out on the anaerobic max capacity. But technically, zone two, you have to stay very steady state. And so, one thing that we've talked about is the benefit of working out outside. But it's kind of hard to, for example, go for a bike ride and stay in that zone two because there's going to be hills, there's going to be stoplights where you have to stop completely for a minute. You go uphill, downhill, you're going to get past zone two, you're going to get below zone two. Is that something that you look to stay real strict in your zone two? Do you just go to a gym and do it on an incline treadmill, or is it something where you get your zone two within the context of your life?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the answer is very individual. If you're somebody who is really focused on improving zone two steady state ability to the max, and you don't really care how you get it done. As a matter of fact, you don't want to bother finding a route to ride your bike outside. You just want to get to the gym, get the work done, get on with your life. Uh, get to the stationary bike and do that. If you're somebody who just really doesn't like going to the gym, or you really like moving, exercising stuff outside, you're not super concerned about getting, the absolute most out of your zone two training, like the scenario you described, riding your bike outside, you're still going to get huge benefits from that, just because you're not literally in the zone two, parameters the entire time. Doesn't mean it doesn't count for anything. So I think it's a very individual answer to that question. And for me, I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I want to just get on that stationary bike, get the work done, and really get that good, steady state training. And then sometimes, especially when the weather is nice outside, it's much more enjoyable to get outside and do your cardio out there. And if that means that you do it more often and stick with it, that's definitely the better answer to me. Is whatever intervention you're going to do more, whatever training program you're going to stick to and you're going to enjoy more, is the one to go. You're going to get huge benefits from both, unless you're a professional athlete or riding the Tour de France or something. You probably don't need to worry about only doing the stationary bike and being super controlled with it.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is not only whichever one will you be more consistent with, but there's just trade-offs to whatever you do. So another version of zone two that I've been enjoying doing, and I actually do this indoors now at my new gym, but I go shoot hoops. And I try to keep it moving to where, I'm not just shooting free throws or something where it's super easy. I'm breathing hard, but just the nature of basketball, I'm going to miss a shot and I'm going to go chase it down hard. And then later on, I'm going to make a shot and it's going to bounce right, or I'm going to miss it. It's going to bounce right back to me, whatever it is. I'm not going to move in the exact steady state the whole time, but I'm also getting, hand-eye coordination work and stability work. And so like you get a little bit of trade-off that I wouldn't get on the treadmill. So whatever you choose, there's no, perfect ideal workout. It's just depending on what exactly you want to focus on. So just to summarize, I would say the bottom line of the whole cardio thing is about 75 to 80% of your time you're in that steady state where the indicator that we like to use is you can barely hold a conversation or you can barely continue to exclusively nasal breathe. So you're not breathing at all through your mouth. You can just breathe through your nose. And if you get past that point, then you're actually going harder than zone two. But you want to be right on the edge of that. 80% of your time, that's where your cardio is. And then that 20 to 25%, you're going near max effort that you can sustain for about 3 to 8 minutes. Is that fair?
Yep. That's a good summary.
Yeah. And I think the only thing I would say about that one is it's very hard. You have to push yourself probably harder than you're used to if you haven't been doing this style of training. Near max effort is not just like, oof, this is getting a little bit tough. Like you have to go really, really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be completely done by the end of it. If you're going 4 minutes, that last minute of those 4 minutes should be
Brutal.
not in an injury way, but it should be painful.
Yep.
You should be sucking air hard. It should be all you got.